Hello Caddo Algebra 1 teachers, this is Roger Vance, Secondary Math Guy for Caddo Schools, and welcome to the video version of our recent collaborative meeting entitled Conceptual Development related to upcoming curriculum topics. This session was held on February 9th of this year, 2016, in the Professional Development Center seminar room. We had 9 participants from 7 different schools, and it was a great time of discussion and sharing ideas that I believe will benefit our students. After some introductions and a look at the agenda, we started off with a discussion of our scope and sequence and this year's end of course test. If you received this video by email, the Algebra 1 EOC assessment guidance and other related documents were attached. If you found this video on our caddomath.org website, you probably noticed these documents posted alongside the video file. The assessment guidance is very important and not overwhelmingly long. So I strongly encourage every Caddo Algebra 1 teacher to take the time to at least skim through it and familiarize yourself with the information. This could lead you to change the way you teach some of the content to your students. We also looked briefly at the Algebra 1 Tools document from the Louisiana State Department of Education. This document is meant to guide you through the remediation process for any students you have who are struggling. The next thing we looked at was the latest draft of Louisiana standards for 2016-17. If you haven't heard about this or you haven't looked into these yet, I strongly encourage you to look at these as well. They had just been released about 2 weeks prior to this meeting of this professional development opportunity, and it was interesting to see how similar the new standards are to what we have used for the past few years since our state GLEs were replaced. There are minor differences in wording, but the classification system looks more like our old GLEs, so I don't expect that this will take much of an adjustment from what we've been working with this year. Now, so far as the scope and sequence goes, we didn't start at the beginning, but at the meeting we started with the current week as of that meeting date, February 9th. Most of the teachers admitted that they were at least a couple weeks behind schedule, which led us to make a few points. First of all, this is a critical time of year when we have to map out a timeline for the remaining instructional days. That's a very important process that needs to take place if it hasn't already. I know some of you have already done that, but we really need to be looking ahead to the remaining topics and purposefully placing those in our calendar in an effort to do the best job we can with our kids in the time that we have remaining. So as you look ahead, you'll want to identify major content, supporting content, and additional content topics as defined in the EOC assessment guidance. I'm planning to look into providing that for you, but it can get a little complicated when several standards are covered in a lesson, so I'm not exactly sure how that's going to pan out, but just know that I plan to be working on that hopefully before the end of March, if not sooner. You'll have something to look at because we really need that right away. The other thing we need to do is we need to plan primarily for that major content, and again, that can be found in the assessment guidance document. We also need to plan to expose students to, as much as we can, really all of the supporting and additional content. And that word expose students to, that term there, is something that we used to not use a whole lot because we just kind of expected to be able to cover everything. That's changed, and it's just gotten tougher with the change from GLEs to Common Core and now to Louisiana standards. A lot of topics that used to be taught at higher levels of math are now being taught in Algebra 1, and kids were already coming to us with achievement gaps. And so it's just gotten very difficult in this interim time, in this changing time, to expect teachers to teach everything to mastery. So what we're saying is look at the major content, do your very best to teach that content to mastery, but don't just leave off the other material. We want you to plan out a way to expose your kids, and when I say expose, I'm not talking about mastery necessarily. I just think that we've got to expose them to as much of it as we can, hopefully all of it, so that if they get on the EOC and there's something there, it's not a total surprise to them. And then hopefully we've developed their problem-solving skills enough to to where that'll be enough to get them through with a great score on the EOC, as well as preparing them for next steps academically. The other thing is, as with most first-year plans, this scope and sequence is going to need some revision. So just know that I understand that, and my goal is to work on a revised scope and sequence this spring in the next couple of months and have it in your hands before the end of this school year. Hopefully we'll be able to achieve that, and you'll be able to go into the summer with all that you need in preparation for the following school year. So stay tuned for an upcoming announcement about gathering committees of teachers to work on that task. In the meantime, please be making notes of changes that you would like to see. So then, after a look at the scope and sequence, here are the chapters that most teachers had left to cover on February 9th, the date of our FACE meeting. Just like we did at the original meeting, now would be a good time for you to pause this video, get out a pencil and paper, take a look at these chapter titles, and jot down some common struggles within these chapters that your students always seem to have. At the end of this video, you'll be given an opportunity to earn a CLU credit for watching and then also completing an evaluation form. And the evaluation form will require you to record some of those common struggles. So if you'll do that now, that would be great. All right, hopefully you paused the video and took some time to jot down some common struggles that you deal with every year with students not understanding certain things or some of the deficiencies they come to you with. After some discussion among small groups of teachers doing that very task, we spent the remainder of our time on the February 9th meeting discussing some of those common struggles and sharing strategies that some teachers have found to be helpful. This, to me, was the most exciting part of the meeting, and I think this is what most of the teacher evaluation notes were talking about when they asked for this to continue on. Overall, as the title of the session indicates, we tried to focus on conceptual development. For instance, we emphasized the progression from repeated addition to multiplication and then repeated multiplication to exponents. So as you're talking about exponents here in Algebra 1, we also want to make connections to what the kids have already been through and things that they might consider to be easy. When we talked about factoring quadratics, we emphasized the connection to a simple numeric factor tree. We also emphasized the fact that factoring and division are basically the same concept expressed in different formats. So again, this idea of connecting new math topics to what the kids should already know and should be fairly simple for them in a lot of cases, that should go a long way in helping them to see conceptually what's going on. You still are going to have to teach procedures, and some of us have little mnemonic devices that we use to teach things, some gimmicks, I call them. But the more they can understand the concepts, I believe the better those things are going to work. Unfortunately, in this session, time cut us short, but these are some great examples of the kinds of discussions we need to be having as often as possible. We learn so much from each other, and I'll be working to provide these opportunities as often as possible. This is the part that I hope to document and even video at future meetings so more detailed information can be shared with those who are unable to attend. This particular video is more just a summary, but in the future I hope that we have a lot more detail to provide. We're also planning future collaborative meetings where some of you come prepared to demonstrate successful strategies in more detail. I hope over time to build a video library labeled by topic, and not just me talking, but having teachers sharing. This would be a great place to turn when we need some help preparing to teach an upcoming topic. So as I kind of alluded to, the feedback from this session included things like, it was very positive, but included things like maybe have 9 weeks so more topics can be addressed. Someone else said we need more time to share ideas with each other. So that was very well noted by me, and it was exciting to hear that the attendees wanted more of this type of professional development, and it made me feel like it was a worthwhile meeting. Other teachers suggested topics within a collaborative setting like graphing calculator issues, real-life applications of algebra skills, teachers coming to the workshops with their best activity and sharing a brief overview, whatever that activity might be. So the feedback was very positive again, and teachers expressed an interest in making this a common occurrence. So as we plan for future PD opportunities, I'll be working to apply that feedback. I hope that all of our meetings in Caddo will be collaborative, where you don't just come to listen, but you come to share. We have a great group of Algebra 1 teachers across the district. I believe they're the best anywhere, and I get excited to think about what will happen when we begin to work together on a consistent basis. So that almost brings us to the end of this video. Please use the documents that are connected to this video, the EOC assessment guidance, the Algebra 1 tools document, and be sure to check out the latest draft of the new state standards, especially when you begin to plan for next year. Also, please email me anytime if you think of a suggestion, concern, a need, or anything at all that might lead to benefit your students, and probably what would benefit your students would also be a benefit to other students across the district. So that's very important that we communicate. And one more thing, if you would like to receive that CLU credit I mentioned earlier for viewing this video, please go to caddomath.org/math-pd. It's there on your screen. And click on the evaluation link associated with this PD file. Once you've completed your evaluation, you will need to send me an email at rvance@caddoschools.org with the subject line Algebra 1 Evaluation. Again, you can see that on the screen there. You don't have to write anything in the message part. You can if you like, but if you'll just send that email with Algebra 1 Evaluation in the subject line, then I'll send you your CLU certificate when I receive that email, and as soon as I'm able to pull up your evaluation and confirm that. Thank you so much for watching this. I hope it was beneficial, and I hope to see you soon. Take care.